Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. Oh, what? Oh, I'm doing fine. You know what? I've turned over a new leaf with this show. This is a Dynasty podcast for those that are interested. Fantasy footballers, Betz.
If you're listening,
Borg.
you're probably interested.
You know what? I realize that being the host of the show, I put a lot on myself. Just carrying the weight, and I just want to let it go. You know, when we get into the show, we get in the show, and I don't have to come in the way that I've always come in. So today, I'm feeling good about it.
I will say, if anybody tuned into the DFS and betting show from last week, the intro today was well ahead of what happened on last week's show when Kyle had strep throat literally on the show trying to
Satan
talk.
almost got me. I'll tell you that.
Vegas got you.
I did probably get the Vegas strep throat, but whatever.
As they say.
Yeah, I've come back from the depths, and I'm here, and I'm a new man. That's what matters.
Look at you.
Yeah, I feel like the intro of the podcast, I could come in one way, and today I'm feeling a renewed sense of who I am as a podcaster. I mean, I went through the podcaster's nightmare with strep. It could have put me out for weeks. Now look at me.
What kind of strep throat do you got over there?
It was actually
weeks.
It's the Vegas strep.
It was actually really, really bad. Like for a couple of days.
Strep throat is horrific, but strep is like what, 5 to 7?
Yeah. No, I'm saying like
days, not weeks, Kyle.
But as a podcaster, that's like my main muscle.
Especially if you Baker Mayfield, like you play through your injury.
Set you back a week.
You might damage the Vox and the Vox box.
And look what Baker did. He's like, you know what? I'm going to be a tough guy. And now is like the organization saying like, okay, you're a tough guy. You're worth this much money to us.
It's wild, man. It's wild. Baker gets himself into trouble by being too tough.
You know
too
what
much
we need?
Dog.
He does have too much dog. You know what we need? We have this amazing show on Netflix called Quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Somebody needs to follow Kyle around for a whole season. Fantasy football podcaster.
Borg?
It's just Kyle's documentary of what life is like trying to do this job. I mean, that's entertainment right there.
Kyle is in his room again.
There he is.
He's on the keyboard.
Documenting spreadsheets again.
There he is. Just
for the 17th week in a row.
It's the same yards per out run.
I can't get this VLOOKUP to work.
That is
Digital
frustrating.
formatting isn't working. God.
That is quite frustrating. On this episode, we're going to jump in the Dynasty Time Machine in a little bit, which is kind of fun, to figure out this year's Michael Wilson. And we, the three of us.
Wait, does that mean the drop is coming?
Yeah. I wanted to use it. We never get to use it on this one. We never get to use it.
This show lets the drops drive the content, and not the other way around.
100%.
We have no idea what we're going to talk about. Kyle just goes into the drops, and he's just like, oh, this sounds pretty good today. Throw it in the doc.
That I really thought about, like, we have the drop that we've joked about before. It's the let's go deeper, or I forget what
the Sean T?
Yes, the Sean T.
Let's go.
Yes. That in itself is a segment.
If y'all have not gone down on insanity, just don't talk to me. Get on my level.
I just love that inspired a drop for our show that we use, and now I kind of like it just for this show because we don't get to use it. But we'll do that. We'll get some Dynasty Mailbag. I think there's some strategy questions that we have from listeners that at this point in the offseason, this point in the training camps, I think will be really, really good to kind of talk through some of that. I do want to mention that all of our projections, everything in the Ultimate Draft Kit, they are updated live. I'm even just looking at some of the stuff we did with the Jaguars, which there's been a lot of talk from Liam Coleman about Parker Washington. Find someone who loves you the way that Liam Cohen loves Parker Washington these days. Just some of behind the scenes stuff, updating. I know, Mike, behind the scenes, like that is something you're doing every single day, you, Jason, and Andy.
Yep. Yeah, we're always jumping in to see if we believe in our projections, if what the sentiment that's coming out, because we're in coach speak era right now. You know, we don't have I mean, some training camp stuff, of course, is starting to filter through, but we don't have the preseason games yet. But then those start changing rankings, and you got to be on the up and up, man. This is the time. You got to lock in.
Yes. And even some of the contract stuff that we got in the last couple days. Betz, I know you got to update the Dynasty blurbs for all of those players. Apparently, Zay Flowers is worth over $100 million guaranteed.
Guys, that is wild. I love him, and Mike. I know Mike's in on him too. Kyle,
I feel like I signed a contract.
Imagine telling yourself 2 years ago, Zay Flowers is going to get over $100 million guaranteed.
Look, that is me. You want to jump in the time machine? The way I felt about Zay Flowers in the draft period, I would have said absolutely. And then he just continues to dominate on the field, and then there's just stupid, dumb idiots who are like, I don't know if he's a number one.
That sounds like Kyle.
Here.
Yeah, who are those kind of people? I would
sounds
never.
like Kyle, Andy, and Jason.
I'm glad. Usually
losers.
it's just me by myself, but to be lumped in, I feel fine about that. But ultimatedraftkit.com, all the projections, contracts, dynasty blurbs, all those are updated when news changes. But yeah, I'm going to hit the drop.
Marty, you've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
Yeah, then you get that wind chimes.
And that's the show.
This might be a hot take. Hey, it's a show for hot takes.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one better than Ice and Fire.
Okay.
Ooh. That's an unpopular opinion, I think.
It will be. It will be very unpopular. And you know what? That's all right.
Okay.
I mean, they're both great.
So you're glad that we played the drop then?
Oh, that drop rules.
Okay, good. I can't tell if there's certain drop. I mean, you're probably proud of a lot of drops, but there might be some of them you're like, yeah, if we just want to like move past that one, we don't have to use it anymore. I don't know the guy who made it, but anyway, Dynasty Time Machine. We do this exercise on the main show, but I thought it'd be important in Dynasty because Michael Wilson, who is now going into his final year of his rookie contract for the Cardinals, if you would have told me through 2 seasons, hey, by the way, this guy is going to be a wide receiver 1 in his 3rd year, I just wouldn't have believed you. And we kind of go through this exercise a lot where we judge players based on what they did in the rookie year or their 2nd year. And I'm the poster child of this. I will say, make decisions in Dynasty on these players based on what they've done. Because historically speaking, if you put up 1.26 yards per route run, that was through the first 2 years, you are among a group of players that historically just don't matter. I'll give you a list of them. Through 2 years, it's Josh Palmer, it's Treylon Burks, James Washington, Miles Boykin, like all of these guys drafted on day 2 that honestly, day 1 and day 2 that we don't really care about in fantasy and that didn't turn into anything. Xavier Legette, also on that list. So I wrote an article and I just said, hey, I can't see it for Michael Wilson in Dynasty after 2 years. I just couldn't see it. And then them drafting Marv, I think we all felt the same way. Betz.
I just found my answer, guys.
You did? You found the guy?
Yeah. I know who it is.
I mean, Betz, like, was this anywhere on your radar? And not even just like on your radar beginning of the season, but like halfway through the season, this wasn't on our radar.
I mean, he was irrelevant for the first, 8 weeks, basically? 8, 9 weeks, whatever it was, until Marv got injured and Jacoby took over. It took the perfect storm to get here, right? Like, it took Marv getting injured, it took Kyler getting injured / benched, Jacoby dropping back 47 times a game. Like, it took the perfect storm for this to happen, but it was in there all along. Like, I think, previously, if you would have asked me, is Michael Wilson a good NFL receiver, I would say he's probably pretty replaceable, like a fine, like wide receiver 3-ish type guy in the NFL. But after like watching some of the tape from this past year, you can't argue that he's better than I thought he was. Is he going to turn into like a locked in wide receiver 1 in the NFL? I'm not sure I'm there yet, but like, I think he's better than I used to think. That's for sure. I also think it's not crazy to make the argument that he outproduces Marv this year. I think that's totally possible. So I have flipped on Michael Wilson completely. And I think what Kyle was pointing out with some of these like thresholds that we use, like you're going to miss every now and then. And there are outliers, and Michael Wilson is an outlier from that group.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're making dynasty decisions based off of years and years of data that goes back pretty far, you're going to be right more often than you're wrong. This is one of those rare instances where it's like, yeah, he didn't do anything in the first couple of years, but man, that year 3 breakout really did happen. So yeah, what a season from Michael Wilson.
He didn't do anything through the first 9 games of this past season. He had 231 receiving yards. And I had a deep dive. Like, that's the fewest ever for someone to finish with 1,000 receiving yards at the end of the year. So, like, even throughout the season, you wouldn't have said this would be the dude. I don't know anybody. Maybe I need to go back and find somebody writing an article or pounding the table for Michael Wilson in week 6 or 7. But I don't even know if Drew Petzing was, and things shifted in the offense. I know, Mike, you in Arizona, I don't think you guys saw this coming either.
No, absolutely not. He was. I remember being at I was at a DraftKings final with Smiz. It was taking place in Arizona, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I got an extra. I got a +1. I'm in. You want to come?" It's like, "Heck yeah, dude!" So hung out. The huge high stakes tournaments going on, and we were talking about, because I think Michael Wilson was like a popular play that particular week. And he was just, we're just shooting back and forth of like, Michael Wilson just doesn't have it. Like, he's not getting open, no separation. It's just, like you said, Betz, he's an NFL player who deserved to be on the field, but it's just, he wasn't a difference maker. He was very replaceable. And then he got better, which is, it's this weird thing that we forget can happen. Like, even though we all do it every single day of your life, you slightly get better at something. And if you're a professional working on something, you get better. But you have to, in the NFL, because of how fast it is, you got to get better quick. And you got to have some luck built into it of your surrounding circumstances of you still get to stay on the team and you still get to be a starting wide receiver. And that's what worked out for Michael Wilson. And they held on long enough that he looks like a real dude in the NFL. It's like Alec Pierce.
Right.
Like those first couple years, Pierce would hit big plays, but he, as Harmon would call it, he was the sacrificial X, or, he's just out there running wind sprints, team cardio. Just his entire job was maybe he gets open and we're going to take a deep shot, but mostly it's just take the top off of the defense and open things up for the good players. And then Alec Pierce gets that monster contract because he has gotten better.
So let's set some criteria, and we'll take multiple shots here of who could be this year's Michael Wilson. So we're looking for a wide receiver who has multiple seasons under their belt. So we can't pick a rookie.
Mine's only a year. Mine's a year 3 guy. That's my one stipulation.
Okay, that's good. That's good with me.
I was trying to Michael Wilson.
So is mine.
That works. You kind of like need them to be overshadowed if we're using the same template, like, hey, maybe there's somebody else on the team that is carrying a bigger name. And then, but you're saying if given the opportunity, something unexpected could happen. So Mike, why don't you shoot your shot first?
So I'm going with this is a year 3 guy who I liked what I saw coming out of college. It took him some time before he eventually transferred to Virginia, had a monster season, and then still falls to the 6th round in the draft. Is Malik Washington. Guys, the runway is totally, like, you want to talk about Michael Wilson, the runway cleared for him. The runway is, who's there? Who is in Miami?
Hey,
like,
aren't you worried about John Tolbert?
I was going to say, name 3 other pass catchers besides Greg D. Like, the average person, that's a difficult task.
Terrace Marshall.
Oh, God. There is Kyle. Everything I have read about training camp for and just the offseason for Miami is Malik Washington is just, he's kind of the de facto number 1. And then now look, we got Malik to Malik, right? If Malik Willis can be anything that we saw that he was on the Packers, he'll put up some yards. Like, he's going to throw the ball every single game, just like all the other quarterbacks. And I think Malik Washington is a good player that, if the circumstances align, which they are right now, like, on the main show I've talked about, I'm more open to the idea that Malik Washington becomes a presence on fantasy football rosters. Going the Michael Wilson breakout route, that's the outlier. But I still think that he can give us value. And right now he is just, in fantasy football circles, it's an absolute nothing. I bet he's not even drafted in the vast majority of redraft leagues.
He might be on Dynasty waiver wires.
He might be on You are right. Might be on
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Being honest. Yeah, he was kind of a typecast player in the former Dolphins role, right, where it was Tyreek and Waddle, and obviously nobody else is really going to earn targets in that scenario.
Exactly. And it's like, if you're a 6th-round wide receiver, how do you possibly get any sort of target share when your competition is Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, my only question on him as far as like playing time and everything is he was pretty much a slot-only player. Can he be an every-down player like Michael Wilson became and is? That I'm not sure, but I think it's a really interesting shout.
All right, Betz. You got an interesting name who I think people forget he's even on the roster sometimes.
Yeah, what about Jalen McMillan? Obviously for years it was the Mike Evans and Chris Godwin show. McMillions. And then obviously Emeka Egbuka breaks out in the first handful of weeks until Gronk ruined his career. Never forget. But Jalen McMillan missed so much of last year because he had the neck injury in August in preseason, misses the first 2 months roughly, comes back and has a limited role. But there was a flash in the pan in the rookie year where he was putting up production every single week and kind of just was on the field necessary and running all the routes. And, I don't want to say lucked into production, but it was very much touchdown reliant when he was on the field as a rookie. But even so, last year, over 2 yards per route run, it was a small sample, but it's like, whoa, maybe he is like really talented. He was on a roster in college with NFL players at Washington, right? Like,
I thought you were going to stop there.
At Washington?
He was just on a roster.
He was on a roster? Come on.
Hey, Betz, I'll just talk to you because we're burden bros.
Yeah.
McMillan might be the best one.
Why can I not be a burden bro?
You're not a Loveland bro.
I can't.
You've been telling us Rome is the best value. Kyle loves the value picks.
Kyle,
just get the best players, dude. Come on.
The grown-ups are talking about the wide receiver one for the Chicago Bears, Luther Burden,
who's on my dynasty roster in the league that we play.
Yeah. So is Loveland, and you crap all over him. You don't appreciate what you got.
Keep going.
But my point being, like, is Rome really that good? I know he was a top 10 pick, but is he that good? Jalen Polk is out the league, literally retired. It's like, do we end up that McMillan was the right pick all along? That'd be pretty funny.
It's possible. And I think people are very excited in Dynasty about Ted Hurst, and I get that perspective. I just think we need to pump the brakes on Ted Hurst. This is a small school, it's going to take time type of archetype, in my opinion. McMillan has already produced for an NFL team. I think he's going to be on the field a ton this year, and if we'll see what Godwin has left in the tank, but there's a world that exists where Godwin's kind of toast, and it's Egbuka and McMillan, and all of a sudden McMillan's putting up production week in and week out. So he's interesting this year, I think. Yeah,
I like shooting this shot where he's at dynasty value-wise, because he's probably just forgotten. At the end of the bench, nobody cares. I'm going to start from the probably most expensive in dynasty of this group to like bottom of the barrel, okay? Because like the easiest answer for me is like Josh Downs is the wide receiver you want with the Colts, and they just threw a bunch of money at Alec Pierce. It remains to be seen if he's the dude in 2 wide receiver sets. I hope he is. I hope that like they just figure it out and he's the dude, but they could also sign somebody. I know they've been linked to like Keenan and Diggs and some other guys.
They had an offer out for Debo, but he took San Francisco's.
He wanted to go there. Jalen Coker is an interesting one if you think that like he could vault ahead. Trey Harris is kind of now left for dead behind the other 2 Chargers wide receivers, but he was a second-round guy. I think we all thought he was talented at Ole Miss. He's interesting. And then the bottom of the barrel, left for dead.
Wait, even under Malik Washington?
Keon Coleman.
Oh, Kyle. Let's not be silly. Let's not.
Hey, through 2 years, what if I told you that he's had a better targets per route run and better yards per route run than Michael Wilson did?
That's fine. If you listen to the Dynasty pod, we knew Keon Coleman wasn't going to work.
That just sounds like the 3 of us, Jason 4, kind of all just together just said like, we're going to bully this guy before he comes into the league.
Look, our hit rate is outstanding, guys.
But if you asked their GM, Brandon Beane, about, it's not his fault. that they drafted Keon
No.
Coleman.
I didn't want to
Also-
draft him. Personally, I would never. They made us. I cannot believe
Woof.
that happened this offseason.
I think we're going to look back and say, potentially, that GM fumbled one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history because he loved his own farts that much. That's going to be the issue. I'm serious.
I don't know how many times I got to say on this podcast. It is so easy. It is so easy. And part of the plan being so easy is you have a superstar wide receiver, at least one.
And do they have one?
And they don't. They don't. DJ Moore, I'm more open to DJ Moore having a usable or a surprising season where, we're at the point now of it's not an apples to apples conversation, but it was Stephon Diggs goes to Josh Allen, and you're just like, we're worried, because Allen wasn't Josh Allen yet. But it was like we believed very much in Stephon Diggs that this was a potential superstar wide receiver. And then he went in the 6th round, all risk was built into it. So I think part of my hesitation with DJ Moore was just, man, are people going to freak out? It's Buffalo, it's Stephon Diggs for sure. It's happening all over again. He's going to get a 30% target share. But that the market has not reflected that. And so the market being the way it is, you have to, this is a Borganoni special of, if the market is saying one thing, then I must at least consider the other side of the story.
I'll think about it. I'll consider it.
See?
This task of us trying to find this year's Michael Wilson, if we're dead honest, there's probably not anybody like him.
Of course not. It's the fool's errand. Who's the new Puka? The 5th rounder who kind of comes out of nowhere and then is like a top 3 receiver in the NFL? That's not going to happen every year.
All right, last little question on him. Does he get an extension with the Cardinals?
Michael Wilson?
Yes.
I believe so.
I'm with Betz. I'm playing it as if they extend him.
I think so. I think so, but because you might be able. It's one of those this is a very team friendly contract where the player gets cash, but it's also not overextending the percentage of the salary cap to that type of a player. So I think I lean that it probably happens.
Michael Wilson or an early 2027 second.
That's
It
tough.
felt right.
Ooh.
It
That's
felt right
right.
when I threw it out.
Yeah. I'd
I lean
probably take the second.
I lean the pick.
Okay. It's right
Could be a
there
vote.
either way, but good for him. Good for a player that literally came out of nowhere. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to jump into a number of listener questions. And in the spirit of just using drops, Mike, don't prepare your pipes at all. Don't do it. Don't do
I
it.
will not.
Mailbag.
There you go. We get to use that one on this show and other shows.
Nice.
We have a number of submissions here that we got off X. And the first one is about camp news, which I think kind of sets this season for us. It's from Daniel. He asks, what camp news is real? What is noise? And how do I spot it? So there's a couple of different variations of that. It'd be helpful if we could come up with a couple of headlines, but we do have an article on the website I want to point to. It's called The Fantasy Football Translation Guide, Decoding Training Camp News from Aaron Larson, which is kind of a fun article. But how do you guys go about this season figuring out what's real and what's not real, especially in this age of AI when people are putting random highlights up all the time?
Oh man, this year feels the social media clip of a guy catching a ball and then being with the tagline of, "Are they might be back," or it's over. The true
that
this is
that Vikings bomb has been like this. It's like a.
Oh, are you talking the recirc video?
Yes, that one gets thrown around so much about Kyler's back, and it's like, oh, but Kyler's not throwing the ball, and that's highlights from last year, and that kind of stuff.
That's just full troll stuff, which is
I hate that.
I know there's
off.
a group of people. I'm sure they like it, but I don't understand the point other than you're just like, yeah, I trolled it, I did it. Okay. But the news is one-offs are fun, but it's really just it's a steady growth of, do you hear this over and over and over? The example of this offseason has been pure insanity for the Chicago Bears in terms of what do we do with this wide receiver room. We've joked about the gang fight of the Jets versus the Sharks. You have Team Adunze and then you have Team Burden, and we're all just going to have a death match. And because of course there can be only one, like you can't be both of them. But the offseason drumbeat of Luther Burden propaganda and hype, not just from us fantasy football talking heads, from reporters, from coaches, like Luther Burden, I feel like there's something on him every single week, and so it's very difficult to hold yourself back from the excitement. His ADP in redraft has gotten to a point where that's a really scary bet to go in on a player who he's Luther Burden. I mean, you have film, you can watch him play and like be really, really excited about it, but he is truly peripherals. Like he is the nerd stats. He's not counting stats. He is nerd potential production. So that's what we've been going on. But you have that then combined with everything that's being said. So it's tough not to go all in, at least for me, on Luther Burden. So that type of a thing where it's repeatedly over and over you're hearing about this player, not just fun videos of a player catching or dropping a ball. Those are fun because we haven't seen football in quite some time. But over and over and over, that's more newsworthy than just how do you think about this guy? Oh, I like him. Because for the most part, of course, a coach is going to say something positive about his player because that's what we do. We're team players. We want to build up the people who are on our side and build their trust. So drumbeat is what we kind of refer to it in fantasy football.
Yeah, that consistent drumbeat I think is pretty important to follow, but along the same lines, like Mike said, if you're getting a lot of your quick hitting information from, let's say you're on Twitter or X or whatever, and you're just seeing like highlight reels, a lot of that means nothing, right? Like literally means nothing.
Correct.
The thing that I care about the most is the consistency from local beat reporters saying in install on 11-11, this is always the running back one. He's always first in line. He always gets first reps, stuff like that. Or, hey, we're lining up in 12 way more this year. Like there's a lot of talk on the Eagles and some other teams that are trying those things out. And it's like, okay, we need to think about how that's going to affect the offense. The things that I care about the most are injuries, obviously playing time, and consistency, like Mike said. The things that I do not care about are like local beat reporter opinions. Like Kyle and I always give this example a couple of years ago when Darren Waller went to the Giants. A lot of Giants beats were like, man, we've never seen somebody move like Darren Waller. Okay, well, he was just coming off a horrible year the year prior. He had so many injuries a couple of years ago. Like, are you sure this is the same guy? And he got seamed up, remember, like in redraft leagues, like by the time we got to late August, he was like a fourth round pick, right?
I was all in. He got hurt though.
I don't recall.
Didn't he?
Maybe.
But he did have some injuries. But I think your point is like, this is the evaluation of a beat reporter saying somebody moves differently, which is very different than a coach saying, here's how I'm going to install this player in the offense. It's all hype. Yeah, that's a great one.
And I think a lot of times teams have already told us what they think of players. Like follow the moves, follow their draft picks, follow the money. That will give you enough signal instead of having to chase your tail with all this kind of camp hype and news. And like, man, think back to last August. The players that dominated August, I mean, Bill was a sensation, but Bill actually was a transaction, right? Like that was actually one of those things that if you were on, hey, they might be moving on from Brian Robinson. They actually did. So that transaction came true. Granted, Bill didn't have the season we were maybe hoping for, but for somebody you got off your waiver wire, like you could plug him in and play him a few times. That's great. But the things that did not work out that were camp hype August, that were like day 3 late round rookie picks that were they even going to make the team? Keandre Lambert-Smith. There was a time where like he was the hype.
Chargers.
Yes.
Dante Thornton, if you guys
yeah,
recall.
Raiders.
Those guys
yeah.
dominated August last year. They might not even make the team this year, you know? So just be careful.
Yeah, the other one that we always talk about is when they share that somebody is running with the ones, you want that over a sustained amount of time. So they're consistently...
Yes, not just today.
Yes, because it's what Betz brought up. It's about teams installing certain players. So like Brashard Smith was a 7th-round pick by the Chiefs last year. And he's kind of an exciting player because he has the pass-catching profile. They were installing him on 3rd down and passing down because they wanted to like see how this rookie could work. That does not mean that he's the passing downs back. They're just, in any job, you're getting experience practicing something. And that day in practice, he was running with the ones, but it doesn't mean that he is now on the first team. And this year, it's like this, like I've never seen his name mentioned at all, like a couple times here and there, but like he's irrelevant now. He's an irrelevant name in 2026. So
right.
It's almost like it's more important of like, what are they not saying? Who am I listening to? And then what are the coaches consistently saying? If they're saying the same thing over and over about this team, like the Jaguars, they talked a lot in the offseason about 12 personnel. Their beat reporters, like one of their best ones is John Shipley. He's like the dude for the Jaguars. He's kind of said like, I'm seeing a little more 12 personnel, but like nothing crazy the way that they talked about it. And I think that's kind of tempered some of my approach of like, they're probably going to still have 3 wide receivers out there.
For the Jags?
For the Jags.
The Jags moving off of 3 wide receivers would be insane.
That's what I'm saying. They're best.
They have too many of them.
To be like, you know what? Let's go to 2 tight ends and just keep some of them off the field. I mean,
it would be.
Yeah.
That would be bizarre.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And I would say if I gave a percentage, I don't know, 20% matters. Maybe that's too high of a percentage.
I was going to say it might even be less.
Yeah. Next question is from Lewis. He says, over the past 2 years, I've acquired 5/10 of next year's first. And I need to use 5/10 because it's a 10-man league. I am one legit running back.
Hold on.
I could see Mike. The wheels are spinning.
He says he has 5/10 of next year's first. So he has 5 of the 10 picks.
Can we not just say I have half of them?
But it helps give context as a 10-man league.
No, but it also is very confusing to say 5/10.
This is what Lewis told me.
Well,
this is what Lewis wrote in about.
Okay, well,
I have 4/12 of the picks next year.
That we have, I am certain that we have.
Poor Lewis.
We have, Louis, do better. I'm certain we have several high school math teachers that listened to this show, that heard that, and their heart paused, and they were just like, ah!
So, Lewis, I'll
$5/10.
rewrite it for you. Over the past 2 years, I've acquired half of next year's first in a 10-man league.
Dude, that's awesome.
Okay.
Great work.
He says I'm one...
Great work by Lewis on that, not by you changing the question.
I'm one legit running back away from a ship. Do I hold or do I overpay? And I want to narrow it down. When he says legit running back, I'm saying top 5 guy. Not like, hey, I'm getting somebody down there. But like, if you have half of the first round picks for next year, would you say, hey, I'm going to go after one of these guys? And maybe you have to dip a little further because these people don't want to pay up. But like,
sure,
it would take a haul. And we say all the time, like, hey, who's going to trade away Gibbs? Who's going to trade away Bijan? But if you threw 3 first-round picks, somebody might listen to you.
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of doing that if it involves anything that can closely resemble or even just get a whiff of being next year's 101. No, absolutely not. I will not trade away anything that could be the 101.
But what if you're getting one of the top running backs in Dynasty? Like, what if you're trading 3 first and one of them, and you happen to get rid of the 101, but you're getting Jahmyr Gibbs back?
Guys, I know what Jeremiah Smith's going to be. And
but I want to win a ship.
But we also thought Marv was going to be something. And now he's just trying to win.
Marv is not Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, but as a prospect, everybody thought he was. I disagree. If you think you are one running back away from winning a title, I don't care about the 1-on-1 next year, man. Go get the title. That's where I'm at.
I would look. Things go sideways. We have had in our Dynasty Senior League, we have multiple years, not just one, multiple years. We have, like, I've gone into the league, looked at someone's roster in totality, and you're like, how do they possibly lose a single game versus stacking it up against everybody's rosters? And then literally everything hit the fan for that team. And so it's like, okay, I'll put it this. If your team is trending that way in season and you're like, man, I got to figure this running back 2 spot to take me over the top, then okay, make the trade. But don't do it right now when the season is not in motion. But I'm telling you, Jeremiah Smith is going to be instantly a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver.
I think
the second he's drafted.
I think we agree with that. I'm more on Betz' side of like going for a ship, and maybe it comes down to like going a tier down from this top 5, where you can say, I'm going to give you 2 firsts and something else to go after, like Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook.
I would much rather do that. So again, just so I'm clear. So this person, their team can win a championship right now.
Yes.
All they're missing is the running back 2.
They just said, I'm one legit running back away. Lewis, this is our buddy Lewis.
Okay, so maybe it's their RB1. We'll figure it out. But so it's like your team is already this good, and you have all the picks. I mean, I don't know.
If you want to try the middle of this thing, which I think is really dangerous in Dynasty, like we always tell ourselves, like I'll kind of go all in, but then I'll also like plan for next year. It's like you got to do one or the other, is my opinion, and that's how I play generally speaking. But one running back that came to mind when we were talking through this, where you could probably give up a first and maybe something else and get the deal done before I think his value will spike, is Chase Brown, where we don't have the contract yet. You kind of have to call your shot. We've talked about this on the show a couple of times. Like, I think he's going to get an extension.
I'm for it.
And it's obviously not going to cost you anything close to Genty, Gibbs, Bijan, whatever. So I think you give a first and get Chase Brown back, and that might feel a little bit iffy right now, but if he does get the extension and he's the dude for the Bengals for the next 2 or 3 years, that seems pretty fair to me.
Just like if your team is that, you're looking at your team and you're so secure of it. My team is so good. I'm just one running back away. That means you're gonna win a bunch of matches, a bunch of weeks as you're going along. Just saying, you don't want to trade away 3 of your 5/10ths of next year's draft, and then your superstar gets hurt the next week. So that. I would wait a little bit. I would hedge on this particular situation.
Next one is from @Utopian Warlord. He asks, when do you feel is the best time to sell high during the year? Is it off-season, preseason, or at the trade deadline? And I would just caveat this by saying it's different for rookies. It's different for veterans. Like, they have different windows of when things are best to sell high. I think that if there are windows right now for certain rookies that are like fringe guys, if you're going to sell them, like now's the time to sell Cyrus Allen. If you're going to sell him, It probably was, a couple days ago. But like,
right.
Those are for those players. But like the sell high for me, for veterans, is 4 or 5 weeks into the season. People are like, this is what this player is. And I know they can't keep this up. So like, remember when Joe Mixon crushed for the first 10 weeks of that season? It's like, okay, this guy's old. He's not going to keep it this way, but he's the RB1 and he's been really good. I'm not like saying he's not good, but I know in Dynasty, like this is the time to cash out. Dave Montgomery is that player for me this year. If he gets off to a hot start, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to flip him because I know he can be valuable, but like, I know what he is. And so it's the sell high window for running backs for me is like week 5 in the regular season.
Yeah, once injuries start to play in and other contenders in your league are kind of desperate for some running back help, and you've got a guy that projects for 18 touches a game, but Dynasty, like this is the end of the life cycle, like you got to do it before the season's over. Unless you yourself are a contender, then you can ride it out. But you need to look for those windows for sure with veterans in season. I would say the rookie hype is kind of building right now, and it will continue for the next 3 to 4 weeks as we get closer to the season. There will be moments where some rookies that maybe you were lower on that you happened to grab him off a waiver wire. You took him in the 3rd round of your rookie draft. They're getting a bunch of camp hype and camp buzz. And I'm with Kyle. Like, I'm usually willing to kind of, unless I feel strongly about that player, just cash in, include them in a package deal, get a, if you got him in the 3rd this year, flip him for a 2nd for next year, stuff like that. I think back to last year when the Bill hype was going crazy, I put Bill on the trade block in my league, just thinking like, hey, he could be amazing. He's also a 7th round rookie. Like, we see this all the time. And I sent Bill and a second, or sorry, Bill and a 2nd, and I got Zay Flowers back. And half the people that commented on that on Twitter were like, you are an idiot, dude. Bill is the next running back 1, yada, yada, whatever. And he might still have a great season this year, but you know what you're getting in Zay Flowers. So, like, there are windows where you can capitalize on the news. It was after the Monday Night Football run, if you guys recall that, where he ripped off, the 25-yard run. It was like that night, the deal got done.
It's funny of Zay Flowers, the beginning of last year is, I feel like people didn't really like Zay Flowers. Like, I went back and looked in our Dynasty League of, he got traded right before last year started. I would have to look again, but it was a shockingly low trade value that got it done. And it's funny of like, it maybe now with the contract, people will start to change their opinion, but like, I feel like even after he came through with over 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns, whatever it was, people are still like, hey. It's like, so that's just a funny thing of the value of Zay Flowers, who just continues to be undervalued by fantasy players.
I love that people trashed it on both sides, and
that's a good trade.
Yeah, that's perfect because people are making up their minds of what somebody is, what they aren't. I think people are a little disappointed. It's like 14 touchdowns through 3 seasons, despite Lamar kind of being an outlier touchdown guy. That would probably be the only other side why he doesn't feel elite. I will add in this last little thought about sell high time. I feel like March is one of the best times to just capitalize on just right now. This is what's happening, which is a move happening or not happening in free agency. Is like, this is the perfect time. This is what happens. And there's this flurry of action. People feel like this is what it is. And then you kind of take time to realize, like, I know Mike loves Romeo Doubs, but like, that was the time for Romeo Doubs to say, like, he is the dude. And I think Mike knew they might do something else one day.
Yeah.
But like, that was his peak value is the point.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So
awesome, Betz. I'm going through the comments. This is so.
Oh, it's so good.
This is good stuff.
I'll have to retweet this so people can check it out.
Yeah,
you got someone who says bookmarked Betz with a gif of "You will live to regret this."
My favorite comment on is just "You're an idiot." Nothing else. Just "You're an idiot."
Oh man, someone got burdened and a 2nd for Bill. Oh, dude, fantasy football is so fun.
Bill hype was
once
like
you have
all summer.
Dude, once you have
You're an idiot.
all the information and you can look back, it's so fun.
Oh man. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll go through some more questions. I'm going to leave a comment on that one right now too. So
I have you actually blocked, so I won't
see nice, man. All right, next question is from Daniel on X, asking about a couple of rookie wide receivers. Jeremy Bernard, or as we call him, Germie, and Antonio Williams are ranked really low. They both have good to great opportunities in their rookie season. What am I missing, and why aren't people on this? So, Jeremy Bernard for the Steelers, Antonio Williams for the Commanders. I think my first question is, like, are they going to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets?
That is, I think, where the question has to start. I would say my zoomed out version is to say Jeremy Bernard has a great opportunity, I think, is not accurate. You have DK Metcalf and his gigantic albatross of a contract. Then you have Michael Pittman, who is legit good at football. And Jeremy Bernard, it's funny, Kyle, you were like, okay, well, who's the Michael Wilson? And I was looking at year 3 guys. There was Roman Wilson. I was like, Roman Wilson. But Bernard is in a camp battle right now with Wilson. I expect Bernard to win, at least just based off of the first 2 years of Roman's career, where it's seemingly he was not liked very much by the organization. It might have been a coaching decision, but I don't know. It seems like they just did not like him. So I drafted, like, I made a choice of, in our rookie draft, it was, do I take Malachi Fields, third round wide receiver attached to Jackson Dart, who, I've kind of softened a bit, but I'm still very, very excited of Dart could be a one of our dudes moving forward, like a true franchise and fantasy football stud. It can happen. So do I want to get attached to that or take who I think is the better player, a second round pick? I might have to wait. So I took Germie Bernard, but I think he's a longer term type of a situation. Antonio Williams is an exciting player because the depth chart says that they need help right away. I would say what I've read through training camp and everything so far is sounds like a guy who will be worked in more and more and more, but right now I think we're off to a slow start. Like this isn't the immediate, he's jumping on the field in 2 wide sets and he's going to make an impact. He's going to be right there with Terry. If of the two of them this year, Antonio Williams over Bernard, I think, is the most likely outcome. But longer term, I think for both of them is not. It would surprise me if one of those guys really turned into a difference maker and not just kind of a flex play for your roster.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on that, we always like to paint the picture of the most positive outcome that could happen for these rookies. And when you think about them on your roster, you're thinking about what could be. The truth is, for most of these non-first round wide receivers in the real life NFL draft, they might hit for the NFL, meaning they will have a role and they will make the team and they will be productive. But like, are they going to be a top 24, top 36 fantasy wide receiver?
Right.
That's what we care about. And the
36 could.
Yeah. And the truth is, though, is just that, like, there's fewer of those guys than you realize, right? Like, you always think that those guys could ascend to be that. And I'm not trying to, not have fun, but obviously it's like, just be realistic. Like, pulling up Felix model in the Dynasty Pass, Germie Bernard's a 77th percentile prospect in that. It's fine. We've seen that many times. Those guys come and go all the time, right? It could work. It might not work. Antonio Williams, 66th percentile. Probably not going to be a difference maker for your roster. I also think with Antonio Williams, we just need to be really careful about copying, pasting. Like, he is wide receiver too, because as of this recording, he is, but I think it's pretty likely Stephon Diggs is signing there. There's been a lot of kind of rumors on that. And so if that happens, it probably tells you a lot about what they think about Williams' ability to contribute right away this year. And like Mike said, it's kind of been a slower start. And I mean, it's only a weekend, but a slower start in training camp. So just be careful putting arbitrary, like, this is what could happen values on players, because most of them are not going to turn into what we hope they will be.
Yeah, let me just give you a couple of names to think about, because we look at day 2 rookie wide receivers and we say that's pretty good draft capital in the game that we play. And we say there's an opportunity that, like, they're the obvious player. This team drafted them. We know about all these other veterans. This guy's shiny and new. But we have so many examples over the years of players where we projected opportunity and in the NFL, it's just not given to them. So, like, even Jalen Polk, we talked about him earlier, was a second-round pick by the Patriots.
Second-round pick.
And in our main thesis, because his per route stuff was not great, it was mostly like, man, like, who else are they throwing the ball to? And it ended up being what? Like Demario Douglas and these other cast of characters. And then he's out of the league in 2 years, which is a wild story. But, like, there's so many guys, even second-round guys, Sky Moore. Like, well, we liked his per route stuff. The Chiefs needed somebody. We like Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is going to be the guy. Jonathan Mingo. Remember when the Panthers took him in the second round?
Sure do.
Jack Besh.
Hold yours, Michael Wilson.
Kyle.
I wasn't going to say it.
Hold your tongue, Kyle.
I need to bring it up because I can finally say, like, I can be stubborn. But today, I was sad. Just sad for Besh.
The best news always affects me way more emotionally than, like, almost any other player. I am so invested in wanting him to succeed.
Well, what we need to figure out, this is the main thing, because the news today was just that he wasn't in the top 3 projected by some beat reporters of, like, is he going to be on the field? But we know...
Which is of note because they don't have anyone.
Yes. And also it's of note because Clint Kubiak said on record that there's no turds on this team. And
right.
I don't think Jack Bech is a
I like
turd.
the cut of his jib.
I don't
he's
think
not
that.
a turd.
Okay, good. I mean, the guy, who could forget as a freshman, leading LSU in receptions as a freshman tight end over Malik Neighbors. That's the stuff of legends.
No, the stuff of legends for Bech was that I felt like as a show we were so much higher on Jack Bech than what we were hearing out there. We're like, this guy's good. Then he goes on the second round. Like that's a crazy win.
He dominated the Senior Bowl.
And then he did nothing. I was reminded of the trade I talked about in our Dyna League for Zay Flowers. This is September 4th, 2025. So this is right at the beginning of last year. Tony Pollard, Khalil Shakir, and a third for Zay
That's some disrespect.
Flowers.
Wow.
I did want to throw out this. So he brought up Germie Bernard, brought up Antonio Williams. Why aren't they going to step in opportunity? There was a really good study done by Fantasy Points, which is just based on your round where you go, round 1, round 2, round 3, how much do you see the field? And in the first 6 weeks, if you are a round 2 player, you're going to average out about maybe 48%. That's been the average of the last decade. So, like, that's not great. And that's like the average. So we see so many players on the low end. If you're round 3, which is what we're getting from Antonio Williams, it's down there at 30%. And it takes until week 13 on average for you to start seeing the field at a clip that really matters for fantasy. So in Dynasty, we like these guys as like a long-term asset, but just even snaps-wise, if you're looking up and you're like, hey, it's week 2 or 3, why is Antonio Williams chilling out at like 34% snaps? That's kind of the norm for these guys, as opposed to like, oh, they'll see immediate opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This next one is from Charlie. He says, what are the questions? Charlie says, what are the questions a Dynasty owner should be asking themselves before deciding who to cut or pick up off waivers? So you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, like, okay, obviously you can't cut anybody on your roster. You never should.
No, you can't cut that guy.
No. Mm-mm. But if you were going to, here's what I would ask.
All right, go ahead, Betz.
Yeah, what were you asked, Best?
So I think when I'm trying to find like a sleeper on the waiver wire, right, which in Dynasty, 99% of the time, they don't work, right? That's just the truth. The waiver wire is not supposed to be filled with talent. Otherwise, it's a weird Dynasty league. It's those guys get drafted. But if you're trying to pick up somebody that you can see the path for, I think what you're asking yourself when you're dropping a player is like, am I holding this player on my roster, but I know I will never start them? For example, like there were years where I just had Darius Slayton chilling on the end of my bench and I like didn't feel like I wanted to pick up a rookie. And like, sure, there was probably like one time that I started Darius Slayton. Spoiler, didn't win the league that year. You know, like there are guys that end up being like kind of roster cloggers, but you're like, they're the wide receiver 3 on their team. Like maybe they could be, you know, but like in those situations, I'm fine moving off of a guy like that to just take a shot on a rookie and maybe, you know? So if you're never like going to plan to start that guy on a week in and week out basis, I'm not saying this that you would do it for like a rookie or an up and coming second year player, but like guys that have been in the league for years that just happen to be on your bench, if you're not looking at yourself to start those guys routinely, you probably can move off of them for an upside pickup off the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think that's solid, and it's just like what is the path or what is being said about this player right now? You know, you have to be able to really tell yourself a convincing story of, okay, this is what has to happen for this player to see a difference in their usage, and how many steps is that? Like, I have had a ton of success in Dynasty of, you know, it's hard to come by starting running backs. Backup running backs are much easier to acquire. Sometimes they fall to the waiver wire, and you got to be like, if you're staying up and up on the news, backup guys you'll find them there. You 100% will. Like, what was it? 2 years ago, it was like Jordan Mason's on the waiver wire.
Right.
I picked up Jordan Mason like the year before. I mean, it wasn't not a complete year, but it was Jordan Mason was just freaking awesome for like half the year. So those those types of things. But I agree with Betz. It can be the roster cloggers are the most difficult guys. Like I just cut him, guys. So you might want to go pick him up off the waiver wire. Like I just cut Rashad Bateman. Like this dude was the ultimate roster clogger of you can 100% see the upside of a first round pick who flashed early in his career, just had bad luck with injuries.
You also have a good team.
The team, yeah, I do. Yeah, I have a strong team, but saying that the Ravens just keep giving Bateman money. Like they want him on the team, but it's like this isn't happening. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. I'll let him be depth on somebody else's team. I'm gonna go pick up like Amari DiMercato, where it's like that's disgusting. But if you're following the news, I don't know that he's good at football, but everything right now, Emmett's the hot rookie, but he was a 5th round pick if I'm not mistaken. Like everything right now is said, okay, DiMercato's the next man up. So get backup running backs where the plan of action is just one thing happens, all of a sudden this player is super relevant.
Yes, I was looking at our main Dynasty League. I saw that you picked up DiMercato a while back, and I was trying to like sift through and say like, who are the names? Like George Halani is somebody we picked up a couple months ago.
Yeah,
it's like I just want to take shots while also clearing my roster of Dusties. Like I'm looking at some of the guys that have been dropped, like Cedric Tillman. You can move on from players like that. Jalen Hyatt, they shouldn't be on a roster. Savion Williams for the Packers. It's like all of these guys are such fringe. I would drop him.
You cannot cut that guy.
You can't cut that.
I would never have had that guy.
2nd year player, 3rd round pick. They just got rid of
Savion Williams is not somebody. Well, I have a good roster too, but I'm just looking at some of the running backs that would have been picked up in the league, and it's like those are the dudes that I want to take multiple shots on. Eric All Jr. is also a tight end.
The drumbeat for Eric All from the Cincinnati Bengals has I feel like his is the loudest that people aren't really paying attention to.
He's still on waiver wires right now.
It's that path is still a bit longer because you have Jamar and T. Higgins there who are going to soak up. Good Lord, 60 or so % of the targets. So there's not a huge piece of the passing game left, but we've seen like Mike Gesicki on the Bengals when T. Higgins missed weeks. Gesicki was awesome. As like that, those are the things where Eric All doesn't look. He's not going to profile and all of a sudden become your tight end one each and every week. But if T. Higgins misses games as he usually has in the past, all of a sudden Eric All could become a hot commodity. It's not like I said. You're not multiple steps away from relevance.
Yeah, the other kind of ambiguous running back 2 situations that I was thinking of off the top of my head, like we don't know who the RB2 is in Indianapolis. There's a decent chance DJ Giddens and or Seth McGowan might be on your waiver wire. If JT goes down, like goodness gracious, like that guy has value immediately. So we're not sure. Track camp news. The other one is like there's been some rumblings of like, is it Braylon Allen? Is it Isaiah Davis is the RB2?
Sure.
Isaiah Davis is on waiver wires. Like those types of guys I would be willing to pick up just to see. And obviously if it doesn't work, you just move on after the year, no big deal. So yeah, I would say right now, don't get stagnant with your bench. Like be willing to pick up some upside picks that turn into an RB2 for you. Like Amari DiMercato and Michael Carter last year when the Cardinals had injuries. So you could play those guys. You know what I mean?
And then at the end of the year, you're really start dialing in and paying attention to contracts of players that, again, everything's a long shot. But if a backup running back who hits free agency, he might find himself in a much better situation. This one's ridiculous because it's super outlier, but it's like I picked up Rex Burkhead.
Sexy Rexy.
Right at the end of his he was with the Bengals. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then is like this is a hilarious transaction. What in the world am I possibly doing? Then he goes to the Patriots. I know he kind of got Gillis lead, but like he had some value up there in New England from out of nowhere.
The early days of the podcast were fun. I just remembered a lot of those names that like these are the guys that you just kind of rode with. Patriots backfield. You had the Jonas Gray game. Like those were fun games.
Oh man,
who could forget? That is the ultimate. Remember that guy? Remember that guy?
Yes.
Like in 10 years from now, remember that guy? 4 touchdowns or whatever it was.
I think this is a good segue to what we're doing next week, because you guys you talked about Eric All Jr., talked about, some of the backup running backs. Next week, spoiler alert, we are having our Nasty Boys of the Summer episode. So we will be giving players, like I had someone today ask me, like, hey, is this player nasty? They brought up Brian Robinson Jr. I was like, no. I need someone way low. I want someone that's not even on a roster yet. That's my goal. Not even in the league.
Oh, God. Is it just because you're going to put Keenan Allen
Keenan
down?
Allen. But he's not. Keenan ain't nasty. He's just good at what he does. But we will be doing that next week, which, we've talked about Dynasty Bench strategy and stuff like that over the summer. We have some different tools and website articles, but the goal of that is just look at some players. Last year, Bill was in that group that we talked about over the summer. He was one of the Nasty Boys. So next week, we will give our Nasty Boys of the Summer group. It should be good, but that's going to do it for this episode of the Dynasty Podcast. Make sure you check out Ultimate Draft Kit at ultimatedraftkit.com. We'll see you again next week.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.